In this episode, we discuss Mario Nawfal's fascinating transition from door-to-door Blender sales to running the most well-known Twitter space on planet, where he conducts in-person interviews with the world's most famous figures like Elon Musk. When he revealed the internal Twitter files, just to say one example, he has built a multi-millionaire empire from scratch. Because this episode was recorded several hours before Andrew Tate was arrested, we are not discussing it this time. But subscribe to this channel and share this video so we have another session with Mario to discuss the new business opportunities integrating artificial intelligence, the NFT agencies, the metaverse future, and many other topics we didn't discuss in this episode because of time. Without any further ado, the one and only Mario Nawfal. Mario, I just want to share with the world your earliest stages. I truly believe that you are one of the people that right now don't need a presentation, because a lot of people, especially in our community, know who you are and everything that you are doing. But I just want to give you the opportunity to introduce yourself and trying to share those early stages. How has been your path to be doing what you are doing right now?
It's another example of someone that came out of nowhere that people love to use as a quote. But I've been doing this for over 10 years. I launched my first company about 10 years ago called Fruity, which still exists today. It's doing record numbers today. You can Google it now. It's a health and wellness brand. It sells kitchen appliances. So that was my first business. I got into crypto in 2017, launched my second business, which is we just raised $10 million this week. I launched that in 2017. 2020, I took NFT Tech, another company, public on the stock market. And the roundtable, I started it on Twitter. I started it this year, and obviously the rest is history. So that's a pretty general overview of my business career. I came out of nothing, lived in Australia, and bootstrapped the first business, Fruity.
That is amazing. Obviously, it's not easy to reverse it. When you go backward, the dots make sense. But actually, the genius and the good entrepreneurs, the people that can make it, are those who understand the scenario and can take the best opportunities. It was not a moonshot. It was not just one single event or one opportunity that you take, but you has been bootstrapping multiple companies in multiple different industries. And along this whole journey, can you share with the world, with the community, with other entrepreneurs that are somewhere in the journey, what would you recommend for people to understand like the best opportunities around? How to network.
I like that you mentioned this, because people launching a business has luck involved. No matter what anyone tells you, luck plays a role in success. That's what research shows. So the fact that I've done this time and time again in different industries just shows that luck has less and less of a role to play. Obviously still has a role, but less of a role. And the way I mitigated the need for luck is by leveraging timing to my advantage. So I got into crypto in 2017, relatively early, which was earlier. I launched Fruity, my first company, in 2012, I think. And that's when the industry was growing really quickly. I doubled down on crypto in the last 2 years. I started audio rooms, Twitter Spaces, about 8 months ago. So if you look at what I've achieved, all of it was timed really well. And if you want to understand the power of timing, I recommend you check out a video by a gentleman called Bill Gross, Gross. He has a TED speech called, I think, The Power of Timing. And it goes through his research, his study on the most important factor for a business's success. And that factor wasn't the team. It was not the team. It was not the business plan. It was not the money they raised. It's not even the ID. The number one common characteristic for a business's success among the businesses he studied was timing, launching the right thing at the right time. And that's something that for me, is probably the most important factor when I make any decision.
That's awesome. But how do you feel the timing? How can someone improve the ability to time not just the market, but the opportunities? Does it have something to do with reading, listening, podcasts, networking?
There is various tools you could use. And I would read less books, even though I used to read a lot of books. If you're looking at timing a certain idea, I would focus more on podcasts and relevant newsletters. I'll give you some examples. My First Million podcast by Sam Parr and Sean. Great podcast. They go through different ideas that are trending right now. the newsletters, Exploding Topics, Trends.co. There's a few others. These are two that I remember now. And those are newsletters and the podcast as well that, you know, keep you in the loop of things that are trending. And there's a lot of things. So what you have to do is, among all the things that are trending, you got to find the one that fits your strengths, your passion, and your ambitions, and then double down on that, because there's a lot of things that are trending all the time. I would also look for something that's trending with long-term potential. Like, how you remember when hoverboards a few years ago, everyone was buying a fucking hoverboard. You know the hoverboard?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was trending, but that seemed like a gimmick. I got into it because I thought it was going to lead to the personal mobility revolution. I was wrong. And it ended up being a gimmick. Crypto, on the other side, in 2017, the concept of decentralization, it will fundamentally shift our society. So it's not a short-term trend. I would highly recommend that any entrepreneur looks for those long-term fundamental shifts within our society as a trend. For example, psychedelics, rather than short-term trends like whatever, LED lights in your room for TikTok videos.
Okay. So what is your magical process once you identified an opportunity? What is the path moving forward you can recommend for someone? Because identifying an opportunity and having an idea is just like the seed, but then you have to do many things to make that seed to prosper. And what would you recommend to young entrepreneurs once they identify one opportunity?
Look, there's two things if done right, it gives you a massive edge. So the first one is an easy one, working hard. It sounds cheesy. Everyone talks about the hustle culture. Some people talk about work-life balance.
What do you think about it?
Basic common sense. Two people doing the same thing, all else being equal. They're doing the same thing. Okay, and for anyone watching this on video, they're moving forward. I can see here. They're moving forward, okay? One takes 2 days off. This one doesn't. Takes another 2 days off. And it compounds, another 2 days off. So you got, it's just very, very basic concept to understand. Every 2 days off you take on a weekend, that other person that's not taking them, taking those days off, will have a head start. All else being equal. Now, this is the key word, all else being equal, because the second point is working smart. The person that works 5 days a week and the person that works 7 days a week, you can work 2 or 3 days a week, but you can outsmart your competitor, the person that's doing the same thing, and then work less time. Then working hard is less important. Working smart is the most important. For example, I'll use crypto as an example because I'm pretty deep into that space. If you got into 2017, you worked your ass off to try to, offer marketing for projects and make some quick money, great. You'll make some quick money. But if you played it smart and you worked with projects, asked them to pay you in fiat, in dollars, and then use that money to invest in other projects, to wait for the market to correct. When the market crashes, when everyone is scared, there's a lot of fear, you start investing. Then when the next bull market comes, you could be 100 steps, 100 times bigger than your other competitor that was working 7 days a week, because you were smart enough to cash up in the bull run and invest in the bear run. So being able to outsmart, and it's a whole other discussion that could last days in terms of how to outsmart competitors, different strategies in different industries, etc. But being able to outsmart the other person just gives you a massive head start. And how to outsmart, best way is just learn from others. Listen to podcasts like this one, read books, and see what others did to succeed, what tips and tricks you could learn from those people and replicate within your own journey.
So information is leverage. It's basically taking the path of other people and reverse engineer those ideas that can be helpful with the thing that you want to achieve. Kind of, is more or less.
Yeah, man. Having the right information just gives you that massive advantage, especially in some industries. In some industries, information is everything. In crypto, if you have access to information, you can work 1 fucking hour a day. That's it. And make a lot of money if you have access. It's insane. Because you just know where to invest in what the hot projects are, the in-demand projects. It's extremely valuable. Some industries more than others. So yeah, access to information, access to people, the right people, is extremely valuable.
Awesome. And something you are well known is by creating teams. So it's not just about how to smart individually, but also how to create systems so you can eventually create the machine and then start creating another machine because you have multiple projects, all of them working in parallel, and then you create synergies among them. So for example, you right now are working with kind of your NFT enterprise, but before you were working on offering people advice how to take advantage of the Web3 space. So you are doing like different things, different verticals at the same time. So what can you recommend for someone that want to create teams?
Learning the art of delegation.
Mm-hmm.
If you know how to delegate, you don't need to know much more. If you know how to hire and delegate, hiring the right people and then delegating the right tasks to the right person, that's it. You can work fuck all. But if you get those two things right, you literally have what it takes to succeed. Because all you need to do then is hire the right people for the right position and then properly delegate to them, give them the task to do. Now, delegation is a very difficult art. I was very surprised to find that out. The way to delegate is you got to give the right person the right job. That's number one. So you can't go to an accountant and tell them to jump on sales calls. So it's the right person, the right job. That's number one. Number two, you have to teach them like a little kid, A, B, C, D, E, F, very, very, very basically. And then number three, you got to have a feedback loop in place. So that means there needs to be a process where you can spot when they mess up before it's too late. And that could be something very simple, like sending you a daily report or going through on their project management tool like Asana, checking the tasks they did, or some other way. But these are the two more basic ways of doing it. So you gotta number one is hire the right person for the right position. Number two is delegate in the most basic form, like a little kid. And number three is having a feedback loop, so you know if they're doing a good job or a bad job as early as possible.
Awesome. And in your opinion, how to create a good culture inside of the team? How to set the right expectations? How to make people to explore their max potential? Because by default, people they don't want to invest 100% of their energy in one project. So it is an art to actually encourage people and to build teams and to sustain them in the long term. So you have been building teams throughout your career, and can you recommend some tips to create a good culture, or what is that in your experience?
Yeah, I never really cared about culture much. Like it's surprising because I could be the wrong one here. I think I'm wrong because I read everywhere the importance of a culture, but I never gave it importance. Yet I do have a really good culture in the company. So I don't know how I did it. I think just the basics. Like I would speak to my team on a regular basis. That's it. Like build relationships. I've lived with my team. I rent big houses, big villas and houses. Started in COVID in 2020. And I was in Turkey at the time, started in Istanbul, then in Fethiye, then I went to another country, then Dubai. And I would rent really big places and have my team live with me. That's how close I got with my team. I've had people work with me for 7, 8 years. Communication is key. You just got to jump on regular calls with them, send them regular updates. Communication, man, it's just really not that difficult. If you can continuously communicate, you'll naturally embed the culture that you want within the company. And then in terms of what culture to build up, just figure out the basics, like ethics, hard work,
awesome,
trust, etc. Like the basics. But you just got to do it through communication.
That is remarkable, saying that people has been working with you for multiple years, and especially in technology sector where people usually move around. That is remarkable. And changing a little bit like the vibe of the conversation, what is the future for Mario Nawfal? How does your future looks like? Because you are very ambitious and you are working very hard. You move really fast. You act quick. You can perceive that you are always moving with the speed, with everything. So, do you have a big goal in mind? How is your big enterprise looks like? The following
years? So I want my shows on Twitter to reach 100 million people a week, and I want IBC to hit $1 billion. And both those plans are going, going in the right way. IBC is doing a raise now at, you know, at a really good valuation. Not a billion yet, but a good valuation. And my show is reaching millions a week. So getting to 100 million, we're on the right path for that, especially if Elon does well with Twitter, which looks like he is. So these are the two main things. And then number three is a more personal task is I really want to triple down on biohacking, which is something I love,
Okay,
and anti-aging. I do that a lot, and I want to have more time to be able to focus on that.
awesome. And what about the bachata?
Yeah, man,
The bachata
I
side.
haven't. I used to dance every day. I haven't danced for 4 months since my show blew up. I haven't had the time. Um, Machado will probably become less of a, will continue being a passion. But if I'm
Mhm.
gonna build IBC to a billion and I get my show to 100 million listeners a week, it's gonna be hard to do that while still dancing as much as I did. So I'll probably still do
Mm.
festivals here and there, travel here and there once a month maybe. But to do it at the same level I did it before, it's just not
Mhm.
possible now. I just got my ambitions are too big and I'm getting closer and closer.
Would you recommend for entrepreneurs to explore the artistic side? Do you believe that is there any valuable synergy?
Yeah, look, entrepreneurship is really, really fucking hard. The ups and downs and downs and downs and downs and downs are draining,
Mm.
draining. Anyone that says otherwise is either lying or they've been lucky. It's
Mm.
really tough. There's 8 point something billion people on this planet competing for very limited resources. So if you don't have some sort of escape from that hell that's called entrepreneurship, it will suck you in, especially in the tough times. Like in 2018, I had a tumor diagnosed with a tumor that was bleeding. IBC was
Mm.
scammed, almost went bankrupt out of millions. Fruity got screwed by a supplier, also lost millions, also almost destroyed the company. And I was dealing with a personal crisis. Like I had everything going wrong around me. The escape, which to me was dancing, allowed me to get through it and keep working every day and having the energy and the drive. So that escape could be anything. Could be watching movies,
Mm.
could be soccer, could be hanging out with girls, could be dancing, could be anything, could be collecting stamps. I don't care what it is.
Mm.
You just need an escape. Gaming is a big one. You just need an escape to be able to balance out your life. And you don't need to do that escape all the time. It just needs to be there. So when you need it, it's there for you.
Have you ever had the experience to feel lonely in the journey of building a
All the
company
fucking
and
time. All the time. Of
mm.
course. Of course. Of course. Like if less so, especially recently, because I have my team. So I'm never lonely,
Mhm.
lonely, but I'm also lonely because it as a CEO and the founder, the buck stops with you. That means
Mhm.
the team is there to support you. But at the end of the day, you're responsible for everything, including your team's future. So in that sense,
Their
it's lonely, but
families.
less lonely than it used to. Their families, my families, everyone. Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's a lot of responsibility. But um, less so now. Living with my team helps a lot, and having them be extremely supportive. I've got an incredible
Mhm.
team, loyal as fuck. So they'll be there whenever I need them, and that that makes it a lot easier and a lot less lonely.
Do you recommend for people to make business with their families, their friends? Because, for example, right now we have a couple of people in the community, the entrepreneurs. For example, Tate and Christian. We have the Belmar brothers, and it's like a lot of people is calling this factor of having physical connection. And around, we have a lot of people creating communities, and there is like a new vibe. It's like there is a new wave of people saying, hey, it is important to go back to some human interaction and create good communities and build deep relationships. It's like having friends in the real world. Um, do you consider that an important factor or even a factor you can exploit to build business together with the people around you?
It's not binary. Like there's no right or
Mhm.
wrong. You can work with your family and it could work out extremely well. Like
Mm.
You mentioned Andrew and Tristan. I'm actually chatting with them next week on my show. They're coming on my show, and I'll ask them that question. It's a good question. So thank you. So yeah, the Tate brothers are an example of where it works. Me and my brother, when he used to work with me, is another example because I trusted him with my life, and I still do. Now, 2018 was really tough on him when we got scammed, and he left the business world and now is a police officer. Surprisingly, funny enough. So there's many examples like this, and there's other examples where it just doesn't work out well, and it harms families and family relationships. I've had both. I've had some family members work in my company and it really ruined their relationship with each other and with me. And I've got others where it made it stronger. Like me and my brother, we would speak every day when he worked in my company. We were extremely close. Now that he's out of the company, we speak maybe once every 6 months and we're not as close anymore. So I think it's leaning more towards the good, but obviously it's a case by case basis. Doesn't mean it'll always be good.
Awesome. I truly believe that there is something magical when you can build a business with someone that is capable of going to the war with you. It's like we are friends in all the realms. And
yeah,
I truly believe that is one of the key factors for people to be long-term. I has been a setting because I don't want to talk about my experience. This is your show, but I have been living alone basically my entire life, and building online alone, disconnected from the world, is very hard, especially to keep pushing. Sometimes the concept is like,
it's depressing.
What I'm doing, why I'm doing this, what I'm doing this for is. But when you have people around and you encourage each other, it's like they keep you accountable, and there is a very different dynamic. And reading about you, researching about you, your multiple projects, it is not possible to build that. It's like if you just reverse engineer everything you have been doing, it's like has to be some valuable key factors that Mario is doing right, so we can all learn from him.
Man, I have a very solid and clear plan to hit $1 billion in 4 years. Very clear, very simple to understand plan. A lot of it is based on timing, as I mentioned. I learned the hard way about having the right people by my side. That's really, really important. And I work my fucking ass off. Like I've sacrificed my whole life to get to where I am. My whole life. And not only financially, everything. From the way I speak, to the way I behave, to the way I think, to the way I communicate with people, to the way I influence. All of it was built since I can remember. Sacrificed a lot. I didn't have a life for most of my life. Didn't have a social life at all. I still don't socialize. I still don't have much of a social life. But I didn't have fun. I didn't have, go out with girls or clubbing or anything till later after I made my money. People need to understand this. And most of us will not have luck on our side. So we have to compensate for this by working smart and working extremely, extremely hard.
You believe in the process it is required to create different versions of yourself. Have you ever had that experience that at some point you hit like a wall, and the only way you can make it through is by basically reframing your perception of reality? It's like reshaping the whole scope. Because some people say that the external result is basically a reflection of the internal state. Have you ever had some sort of experience in that realm?
Everything external is just a representation of an internal process. Everything, from what you see to what you hear to what you think. The way you perceive things and your ability to pivot is necessary. Like when you launch a business and you fail, you launch another one and it fails, you launch another one and it fails. You either give up or you got to change something about the way you perceive the business world, or you perceive yourself and your skills for you to be able to continue persevering. And I've had businesses fail. Like in 2018, man, my 2 top companies, both of them almost died. One of them because we got screwed by a supplier. My second biggest product just went to zero. And the other one's because I got scammed. Things gotta like I've changed a lot over the years. I've changed a lot to get to where I am, and I'm willing to continue changing, to continue moving forward.
Most of the people know what they have to do. For example, if you ask a fat guy, what can you do to be fit? He knows he has to go to the fucking gym. So a lot of people know some basic things about business opportunities. Hey, we have drop shipping, we have marketing agencies, but why Mario Nawfal has been pushing so hard? Do you have like one motivation to keep pushing, to keep working?
Yeah, I don't have a stupid answer for this. I have a good answer because I really researched it to understand it. I understand what makes me happy. It's not work, it's
Mhm.
not dancing, it's not girls, it's momentum. I like
Mm.
feeling progress. I like feeling every day waking up and I've had progress in my life. That progress could be me traveling every 2 days, which I've gone through this period for a long time. So I keep getting on a plane. That experience could be me having a lot of fun and doing crazy shit. That experience could be me dancing and getting a lot of attention as a bachata artist. Or that could be me building a business and making a lot of money. As long as there's progress, I'm feeling momentum and I'm feeling I'm moving forward, then I'm happy. So every decision I make is based on two things: ensuring momentum and extending my life. That's all I do. Every decision in my life is based on one of those two things: momentum and biohacking my aging process. That's it.
I would love to know more about your biohacking progress and journey in the future. And wrapping up a little bit, I would like to know if you want to share something with the world that I didn't ask. Just 3 words that you want to share with the world.
I'm not going to share something cheesy this time. I'm going to share something very, very, very practical, and I'm going to be very short about it because if you don't want to act on it or you don't want to understand it, it's your problem. There's no industry as exciting as Web3 and crypto right now.
Mm.
And I'm saying this at probably one of the worst times. Crypto's gone down significantly. The second biggest exchange turned out to be a big fraud, a big scam. And the industry is really struggling with very, very, very limited liquidity. And I'm telling you this. Why? Because I think long term. That happened the same thing in 2018 and previously as well. Web3 will shift the way we interact with the digital world. The metaverse is going to change the way we live. It already has. We just don't know it yet. It's going to evolve from a Web2 metaverse like Zoom to a Web3 metaverse that includes digital ownership. And gaming will be the early adopters of that digital world, of that metaverse. It will be gamers. Do with this information as you wish. And that will be the way I get to $1 billion. But it's a long term journey. I don't know how long it will take. My guess will be about 3 years before we start seeing significant returns again. Could be longer. I have no idea. I don't really care. I just look at the internet in 20 whatever. And that's how I look at crypto right now.
Awesome. Thank you so much. The one and only Mario Nawfal.
Thanks, bro.